Getting back to the Trikeabout a little bit here, seeing the Bel Air, the rocker panels aren't rotted out. It just needs new clips. A lot of the clips are broken. It had metal clips and they came apart, and I put plastic ones on it and they broke. And I don't know, I'll see what the holes are still there for the metal clips. They just got silicone in them. So I think I might just order better metal clips, snapping clips. It's 2 5/8 inch clips I need. That's how wide the molding is. So I'll see what I can find on the internet for the Bel Air, and we'll take care of that. In the meantime, I'm going to work on this. As I was stating, it creeped forward, and when I put my finger on the belt directly under the camshaft, just a little bit, it would stop creeping. And, you know, common to garden tractors and power equipment often has guides like that near the pulleys too, and often within the center range of the pulley from, you know, just, I don't know why, but they just, I guess the crank's going this way, so it's tugging on the belt a little bit. And when you put this on it, it just lifts the belt so it doesn't allow it to drop down in the pulley for it to tug on it. But that took care of the creeping problem. And now I'm going to start working on the sheet metal for here. And I want to reuse as much stuff, REO lawnmower stuff, as I can. This was originally for the lawnmower. It had a thing that slid here with a pulley that would tighten and loosen the belt to disengage and engage the lawnmower. And that was bent over as a stop, that little thing right there. And I don't think I'm going to bend. I think I'm just going to leave that piece as it is, because that's the way companies did back in the day when they made multiple products. They would share parts across lines, and sometimes, you know, you would get things that it was designed for one thing but it worked on the other, so they just used it. And that's just the way it is. So that's staying as is to kind of keep it that REO-y look. This cover, which I wanted to kind of use to keep that REO-y look too, obviously is not going to bolt on there. And on another thing too, on the belt, it clears when you squeeze it. So that works great. But anyway, what I thought I would do is cut this here and bend this up so it comes up here. There'll be a little bit of work building the cover for this, but that's, you know, I enjoy that. That's the part I enjoy the most. It's more fun building these, and you're done, you know, you don't ride them much, you just sit and look at them. And that's just not as fun as coming out here and getting my hands dirty and working on things. I just like to kind of, I don't know, that's just the way I am. I'm a hands-on kind of monkey around with things kind of guy. You know, and that's my favorite thing to do. That's why I like to restore cars and restore things, and then, you know, and I usually sell them because I want to do something else. I like to work on things. You know, that's just the way I am. I was just trying to cut that with a pair of tin snips. That's not going to happen. This is a really heavy gauge sheet metal. I want to cut this out first, you know, and get it so I can just start getting it up to the, you know, more flush to make more accurate marks and measurements and stuff. So I think I'm going to have to get the plasma cutter out to cut this. I have the same gauge sheet metal right here, because sometimes on cars they have this heavier gauge for various different things in the car, but that's exactly the same gauge as this, which is thicker than the auto body sheet metal. So anyway, let me get my plasma cutter out, and we'll get that thing more to fit on there. As you can see, I cut a bit out of the cover. This hole here is to clear the idler, and I can put it right up to the nut with the sheet metal, and it doesn't, this part of the pulley doesn't hit the cover any at all. And I can line it up pretty much all with where it's going to attach. I drew another kind of an attachment hole. What I'm thinking of doing is cutting this off right here, just because it'll make it easier. Then I'll make a new piece, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I put some paper and kind of, I just didn't like the belt cover coming all the way down like that. It just didn't look good. And so I think I'm going to end it right here, and it's going to curve. And this way, if I ever put, you know, tires, different tires on, and if you see how these are kind of rounded, and if I put mini bike tires on, they're more flat. I don't want them to hit the sheet metal. I don't want to have to redo the sheet metal. So I'm trying to make the sheet metal so it'll clear any tire I put on. So I'll just cut a piece, kind of, and then back to the belt cover there. And I do have to add on to it all the way around this edge here, so it will attach to that, because if I hold it free from the pulley, there's about that much of a gap, so I got to put a piece in about that thick all the way around that engine side. And I think that's gonna, then I'll just have a couple nylock wing nuts that hold it on. I'll weld some 1/4 I'll cut the head off the bolt and then just weld them to this. So it just simplifies getting the cover off to change the belt with just a couple of little wing nuts. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I might just put regular nylocks on it, but that's just what I'm thinking for a sheet metal cover. I think that would look good. So I'm going to cut this off right now, and then I'm going to go get some paper and make a template. That's kind of what I'm going to make the cover look like right there. It's simple. This is pushed in right here. That's why it looks really big there, but it's simple. This will be out more. Let's see if I can push it out and put it back on there so you can kind of see what it looks like. Anyway, it'll hit about there. And I think that'll give enough clearance. If it doesn't, if I have to grind a little more in there, you know, clean a little more out in there in the future, I can. But I think that looks pretty good. That's how I'm going to make the cover. And I ran it all the way around, because when I didn't, you could see down in there to that mechanism. That kind of hides it from standing back. Now, notice how I put a little bend up in the back of the ear. I'll do that the full width across and grind them rounded like it is right there originally. So you can see how much I got to extend that. About, I think, I don't know, maybe a little less than 1/2 inch. And then that'll be pretty easy to make up. I'm going to grind all these plasma cuts nice and square and just make it easier to weld together. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'll just trace that onto the sheet metal and let the weld fill it in, and grind it out, save some work. But yeah, I left it curved over there, and I left a little extra there so I could fold it over the same way. That'll add strength and keep it from vibrating, you know, like the fender does. The fender, yeah, I don't know, I might have to put some brace inside and weld it, because I can hold it in different spots, but it takes 2 hands to really hold it to stop it from vibrating while the engine's at certain RPMs. So I got to do something with that too. But anyway, let me get the sheet metal cut, and then I can start fitting things up. While I was making paper patterns, I thought, well, I'll make this one too, and that's approximate. I got to grind the welds, but that gives me a rough idea, and I can cut the metal, and then I can just grind and fit and tack and whatever until it's just right. But that'll give me full throw of the throttle, give me a place to put little letters, nice flat surface, and I'll screw it to those 2 holes that are in that throttle thing. Yeah, I'll just drill down into the frame and tap it and put some little screws in there. But I think that'll work between that and this. I think that'll look nice. And I'll cut this corner a little rounded and put a little upward bend like I did there. That's original, that bend, and I'll probably do it something like that. But that is kind of what I'm thinking for covers. I think that'll look all right. All right, let me start getting them cut out of metal. This being that heavier gauge like this, same gauge sheet metal, that's why I had to cut it with a plasma cutter. There's no cutting this with tin snips, but I'm going to weld the plasma cut side, butt weld it to that, so I have the nice clean shear cut facing the engine. I'm going to bend this little tab up, and then I'll like kind of trying to hold the camera and everything in place here is difficult. But I'll bend this tab up like this one, and then I'll just fill in that area with weld, and then I'll grind this end, round it out. This end's going to have, you know, more sheet metal welded onto it. So I got the piece traced out for that. I'm going to try and get this all done today to the point where the welds are ready to grind. At least get it tacked together, so I can mount it on here and see how I do like it. Well, I think this thing's ready to weld up solid. I had to hammer it in here to clear the gas tank, and so the belt wouldn't rub on the sheet metal there, and it doesn't rub up in there, and it looks like that will work right like that. It fits on there pretty good, so I think I might weld it up solid, and then I'll make the mounting studs, and we'll grind it and sand it and make it look pretty. But for now, I think, you know, I might have to regrind some of that curve there to, you know, get it right to match the tire, but we'll do all that. I'm just want to make sure it all fits really nice, and so far it does. Yeah, I think that'll look nice on there. You know, once it's painted. It just looks silly going way down back beyond the pulley. I can always, if need be, make a separate cover for that, but I don't think that'll be necessary. You know, I mean, it's just got to kind of keep it want to keep it basic tricycle looking, and that pulley is going to be green, so it'll be the mechanical colors. It'll look good. This cover will be green also. I think this looks pretty good. It's on there nice and secure. It's not going anywhere. It fits up to the thing really nice right there. You can see the idler, and then when I squeeze it, and I'll clean all this surface up. You know, I got a lot of grinding and finishing to do, and then I'll put a little body filler in where I need to, you know, to hide any imperfections. But it rolls nicely without the belt dragging, and then you put the belt on, and I don't know if this shows up in there or not, but the belt hits when it's disengaged, but when you engage it, it totally clears. And I think that's going to work out just fine. So that, I'm going to call that made, and I might make that tomorrow, and then we'll finish all the welds on these and get some body filler on them so I can get them in prime, you know, get them ready to paint. This is going to be cream though. This is going to be green, so I'll paint that when I paint the frame, but this is going to be engine color. It looks okay from back here too. I added this little ear to it because it just finished it. I played with, you know, I put pieces out further, and I just played a lot with it, and I just kind of liked it ending right where I ended it. I think that looks good, and we'll leave this, like I say, as the original REO part, just as it is. I might hammer that out, but I don't know, I might just leave it too, you know, because it's part of the lawnmower, the way the lawnmower part was made. Yeah, and I'll cut these off too. I'm going to put nylox on it, and I might put a little washer on there, a little tiny one, so it doesn't chip the paint. You know, usually those 1/4 inch ones are pretty big, so I'll get a smaller one and just drill it out. And that way it won't be much beyond the nut surface. Or get a stainless steel one, they're often smaller, but maybe a stainless steel washer and lock nut. But yeah, I'm definitely going to cut that off. I wanted a little extra there for the nylock to bite and a washer, but we'll get that squared when we get this all, you know, we'll get it all done up here. Yeah, it works and it looks good. Obviously, you know, I got to finish all the welds and everything, but that will be perfect. And I can put my lettering on here where it will say stop, slow, run, fast. Yeah, that's going to be really nice. Totally happy with that. Basically, it's ready to take apart and grinding the welds. This is 5/8 inch tube, and you can see it's kind of tore up here, so I'm going to fill those in with some weld and grind them out. But I'm going to get I can't find 5/8 out OD tubes, so I'm going to get some 5/8 inch just regular, you know, steel rod like that, and just add it on, and that way that won't crush it down, and maybe I'll grind a flat in it where I want that to go. Just, you know, kind of what I'm thinking. So I have, you know, to extend that, which really no big deal at all. And this fender, I'm going to drill a hole on each side just so it's centered. And that's all I'm going to do is drill a hole. I'm not going to put a screw in it yet because I'm going to knock the rivet out and take the fender off so I can tack in some metal so it's not so flimsy, so it doesn't vibrate from the engine. And I'm just going to, the holes are going to be tiny, and then I can drill, once I get the rivets off, I can see what size I need, get the screws, and then drill all the holes the same size. I want some nice stainless steel, there's some nice looking screws there, and probably paint them. Maybe I won't get stainless because I'll probably paint them the cream that the forks are going to be so they don't stand out. Maybe I'll get a little tiny, if I can find a little stainless carriage bolt, and I'll just file a whole square with a keyhole file. That might be what I'm going to do. And other than that, you know, it's pretty much all, this is all completely done. This is, all I got to do here is cut the screws off, put a washer on there, and figure out how far, and just take my Dremel with a little cutting disc and cut that off, and then move it over here and do the same there. And I kind of wanted this out larger like that because the top of the tire would be about right there, and if I put a different tire on, it'll be more right there. You know, if I put like a proper mini bike tire on or something, we'll see. You know, we'll leave these on it for now. When they wear down, I'll put something else on. But yeah, I think we're gonna start. I'm gonna probably in the next day or two, I'll fix this up and drill those holes, and then we'll start pulling it apart and finishing welds. I think I might finish these two completely, put them in primer, and then make sure they all still fit nicely and look nicely, because I'm going to have to put a little body filler on it here and there. You know, there's no getting around it, and I just want to see how it looks before I tear everything apart, make sure everything looks good with it. So that's going to happen. And other than that, yeah, it's going to be a fun little tricycle. Anyway, I'm just kind of rambling on here. Just to give you the heads up, the Bel Air had no, I pulled the trim off the rocker panels here, and there's just broken clips. Let me turn on a couple of lights. There's no rust in there. So I ordered new clips, and they should be here, I don't know, tomorrow or the next day, so I'll change them out. And I'm not going to bother putting a video on changing molding clips. That's just absolutely no big deal at all. Just the clips are broken, and that's it. So anyway, we'll get new clips, And again, then when I do the seat in the Bel Air, when I refoam the seat, I'll obviously do video on that. But I want to get this in paint, and I've been going through paint chips and picking a kind of a buttery, yellowy, buttery, creamy color. It's something that goes good with this green. That's my main concern, something, you know, so it just really pops. And we'll get it, you know, I'll get the paint mixed up, and hopefully by then I'll get all these. I want to grind the weld out, and I might have to build a little more up and grind it and build a little. I just want everything to flow, you know, like it's all one piece. And I don't want a bunch of body filler in it. Might use a little Bondo, just fill pits in the welds or something, or grind marks. But other than that, I'm going to try and fill everything with weld, and that way I won't have to worry about, you know, anything cracking from flexing or anything. But there we go, little exhaust that I made. All this will be high heat black, and that will be green. The frame, like I've said this before, the frame, this, all handles, everything up here, fenders, forks, foot peg things here, will all be cream. These will be cream. They'll say REO. Be some green, fancy green like the original white was. If I find a photo, I took a photo of that, I'll put it here, and then it'll say REO there. And what's going to say REO here in the wheels is like the REO wheels. I'll put a photo of a REO pair of REO wheels right here, so you can see what I'm talking about. And other than that, and this edge will be painted green. I've talked about this before. This will be cream. So anyway, I'm done rambling on. I got to take this off and polish. I forgot to polish that little metal piece, so I'm going to do that in the future here. I'll do that once the engine's off, and, you know, I'm taking everything apart. I'll drain the oil out of it and put a longer, you know, I'll probably do that before well, I can do that anytime. Even if I'm grinding, just set the engine in place and figure that out. But I'll measure it out. So I'll measure how far I want to come out and over. And pipe threads generally thread in about a 1/2 inch at each end, so I usually measure 1 inch longer from button it up against something to something, like a 90-degree elbow or something. But anyway, there we go. I'm going to end this video because I just keep rambling. So if you like the video, definitely hit the like button. It certainly helps. If you like my channel, I have 348 engine icon that pops up there that powers that. Will subscribe you. And if you like my videos, oh, I already said that. Hit the like button. Definitely hit the like button. But anyway, thank you for watching my videos.